Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest is someone I've known for a while. I've been watching him compete for a few years, but I never knew really the story behind this guy. He is 212 Pro Marco Rivera from Bronx, New York. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Ron. Thank you for having me, brother. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you were down here in Boston back in May for the Cutler show.
Yeah, that was we was up there for Jay's show, and we actually got some footage with you in the local gym up there, and
Bayshore Athletic Club,
yeah.
awesome place. Yeah.
What was that?
That's Bayshore Athletic Club.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Bayshore Athletic Club. Great place, good people, man. Thank you guys for everything. The last time I was there.
What's your training headquarters over where you are?
What was that?
Where do you train over there in New York?
I train up in Mount Vernon Barbell. I'm gonna just shut this door real quick.
Yep. Mount
I
Vernon.
train up in Mount Vernon Barbell here in Mount Vernon. Originally used to train out of Star Fitness, but I'm no longer there. Out of Mount Vernon, it's not the fanciest place.
That's okay.
That's what I like. It's, nice, hard, gritty,
Yeah.
and it's an environment where they let me let loose when it comes to training, and that's what I care about.
The fancy places are not for people like us.
No,
I never
I've
feel like
tried
I
them
belong
many times over. I try it, and I still walking in there, and I try it once in a while, but it's hard to get with the program, in a lot of these places.
So let's find out, because I don't know a whole lot about you. I'm sure there's a story here. So you were born in the U.S., but then your family went back to Puerto Rico? What happened?
Yeah, growing up, I was born here in New York, New York, Mount Sinai Hospital in 1972, and Bronx, man, typical New York family, struggling, just trying to make ends meet. But one thing about that time is that I found kids to be very active.
Hmm.
It wasn't, I didn't get an Atari 2600, man, till I was probably 15 years old. I got everything 5 years after every time
Oh, man.
everybody else got their stuff, so, but the Bronx was, growing up in New York was very active. I swam a lot. I played a lot. Everything was always physical. You ain't doing nothing. Let's go play a game of basketball. And I spent a lot of time in the park, man, being athletic and being competitive.
So
And then,
what kind of sports did you gravitate to?
oh man, I played everything from baseball. I boxed professionally for a couple years. I did a little martial arts here and there, and I've always been very, very active. The boxing part was a big turning point for me because I hated to go in and spar.
Yeah.
It's amazing because in boxing, part of your training is getting beat up.
Right. Yeah.
You don't get beat up, you don't become a good fighter.
Right.
And oftentimes you don't want to get beat up every day,
Mm.
but you got to get in there and master your craft. And I learned to separate those things in terms of what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. That's boxing taught me that, from the road work, the discipline, and the ability to get better. And unfortunately, a motorcycle accident that had broke my ankle is what kind of got me away from that for a couple of years. And enough time went by in between that it wasn't something that was calling me back towards.
Mm.
And then that's when I kind of invested some time in that's when I started training, which came after my brother's death. My brother died
Back
back
up.
in
You played
2004.
you played baseball at a high level too, right?
Yeah, I played baseball at AAA, man. I was a great baseball player. New York back in the days, there was leagues everywhere.
Mm.
The kids are getting involved. It's not what you see now in these days. That's actually diminished. Parks are not what they used to be either.
Right.
It's just changed a lot. And but back then there was always so many teams and so many activities. My parents got me into baseball early, and I was great. I was a great baseball player, and I started moving up the ranks. I was always that guy in the team who was the smallest guy,
Yeah.
who in terms of stature,
Right.
but my hand was gold, my bat was gold. It was if you needed something to happen on the field, they always made sure to. I was that go-to guy in baseball, and I enjoyed it very much. And again, the facts of life oftentimes just kind of detour you into a different direction where you step away from your craft long enough that you kind of forget it, and you forget you lose the momentum in it, and you realize that you made a mistake by doing so. Bodybuilding is exactly the same way. You have a momentum, your body's responding, and you don't put on a 50 pounds of muscle and just take a 6-month break and want to let it just disappear so you can try to get it back again. Your goal is to maintain that consistently so you can keep progressing. And every sport, I find it to work exactly the same. The only thing is, bodybuilding is what I stuck with. That's what I pushed through, because I learned to train for many reasons. I didn't train just to get big and look a certain way. I trained because I would probably be depressed. I trained because I felt extremely happy. I was motivated towards something. I used every scenario to force me to get me into the gym. And the main reason what made me allow to stay consistent was the passing of my brother in 2004.
So what happened? You guys obviously were very close. Was he into training and bodybuilding?
My brother was a phenom in every sense of the word. He was a phenom. He was I would say that he was definitely NFL potential, and but the downside is that growing up here in New York, you get caught up in the lifestyle, and a lot of people that's been here around since the 70s and 80s can tell you that there was a very big drug span. Everybody was dealing drugs, everybody's hustling, everybody's making moves and so on, and he got caught up in that. We all did. I did too. Yeah. And unfortunately, he started getting caught. And behind the process of being caught, he started going to prison. That's where he was introduced substances, and those substances in there are priceless, because for that very moment that you're under the influence, you're not in jail no more. So it was easy for him to indulge in that in the process of being incarcerated, not telling anybody every time he came home what was his situation. And because he was such a big guy, you would always think he was great.
Right.
You trusted that, but unfortunately it lost control, and he goes from being a top athlete to passing away. And that process, because I couldn't believe it. Was hard for me to accept that somebody who I looked up to be so strong to break down so easily to the point of death, that you lose control so bad that you lose your life. And that's when I really decided to make a change, make a difference, and understanding how things spiral. For instance, teenagers, how you see them kind of walking around and talking, and what their goals are, what their future consists of. And I really work on getting back to as many young people as I can, because that's the designing phase. That's the phase that you either can do every amazing thing in the book, or you can choose to do every wrong thing in the book. It all depends on how you see it, and I'm fortunate enough to understand both sides of it, what being in the deep end feels like, and how hard it is to get out of it. But yes, you can get out of it. And I try to always show as many people, as many young groups of people as I can to find a way how. And bodybuilding is definitely an inlet. Even if mentally you're not there, physically you're not there, just making the attempt to really straighten your body out, at least physically initially, starts to redirect things. This is why I love this sport so much, man, and I'll do it to the day I die.
So, when your brother passed in 2004, is that when you put the goal before yourself that I want to be a professional bodybuilder? I want to do this at the highest level possible? Actually,
no. Because at 2004, I still didn't know anything about bodybuilding.
Oh, wow.
I just bodybuilt. I just trained. Yeah. I just went into the gym, and after he left, I emotionally, I was pretty much all over the place, and except when I was in the gym. It was almost like I was going there to meet him every once in a while. In my head. Yeah. I'm going to go see my brother, because I designed for many years to visualize him and hear him mentally during my training. I taught myself that to process, his power via moments and times and situations that we've had together, and I use all those bits and pieces for many years in the beginning, and that's what helped me stay very consistent. And it was the consistency that eventually allowed other people to start relaying to me that, yo, you should think about competing, which I knew nothing about. And once the question mark came up, that's when I started getting information about shows and whatnot. And a judge back in the days named Charlie Arms, who used to attend my gym. Charlie Arms, remember Charlie Arms?
Of course. Arago, what's his last name?
Came up to me one time in Star Fitness and was like, hey, young buck, you ever thought about doing a show? I was like, who, what, where, how? Like, how do you go about it?
Yeah.
I never knew there was one in the area. Yeah. And sure enough, I didn't know there was a whole world of bodybuilding right underneath my nose. And I did my first show in 2007, I believe, 2006, 2007. I did my first show was the Eastern USA Championships in November, and I got in the best shape of my life, although I took last place at that show. Wow. But I did it with my counterparts. I did it with Juan Morel. I did it with John De La Rosa.
Oh, you guys were all on that show together?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Were you all at Star Fitness at that time?
Yeah, we all started kind of coming up around the same time. John was part of my gym in Star Fitness, and Victor was always walking in there. He would walk in, and I would just, like, my jaw would drop.
Right.
But Victor, honestly, was the first visual indication for me of what was possible.
Yeah.
Of what was possible. You see them in magazines, you see them on videos and so on, but you don't. For me, Victor was the first major bodybuilder that I had ran into, and to know him personally and to see him training consistently throughout the years it was almost like having, a video conference right in front of me every time. Like, I get to see this stuff firsthand. And I didn't waste a second in learning everything as much as I could. I asked the questions. I was always a student. But I had a lot of pain. And quite frankly, that was the reasons why I became who I became in this sport. It wasn't that it was anything special. It wasn't genetics. It wasn't that I was just super strong or anything like that. I didn't come into this for that. I came into this because it just helped me feel better.
So that being said, Charlie saw your potential. Did you see your potential at that time, or you just thought? Did you realize you looked a little different from the average guy at the gym next to you? Or did it take somebody else to point that out to you?
Well, potential for me was understanding how strong I was mentally.
Okay.
As boxing, on the other hand, is the small, skinny guys that you have to be careful with.
Yeah. As
opposed to the big brolic guys, right. It's a very different story when it comes to boxing. Yeah. So that in itself, when you're a smaller guy and you're beating up bigger people, you have to, because the initial thought is like, yo, this guy's gonna kill me, man. He's huge. He has all these muscles, and no. So the mental aspect for me was the most important piece. That's what made me understand that if I did it, that it had to be 100%, because I didn't want to get knocked out.
Wow.
In my mind. It was always a battle. It was always a fight. And again, training for me was medicine. Training for me, I just enjoyed training that much. I loved going to the gym and seeing positive people and challenging myself every single day, and that's exactly what I did. Yeah. If there's one thing I can never, as far as advice, give anybody is just finish what you start. In anything you do, finish what you start. Because if you can exercise that and become a master at that, you're going to be successful. You're going to see and make some things happen that you probably never even saw, and that's what happened. I started competing, and I loved competing. I don't care if I got last place. My first show, I got dead last out of like 40-something guys, man. I was that last call-out.
I've been there.
But I was still a happy camper. I was just in awe because, all in all, I was still in the best shape of my life.
Yeah. So you got into it a little. You
I would
got
just
into it a little
look
bit
over.
later too, because a lot of the guys we know got into it as teenagers. I was very young. Most guys were very young when they start this, and you were already in your 30s. But do you feel like you were at a different maturity level by the time you started competing, where you were really ready to do it 100%? Whereas a lot of young guys, maybe not. They're not there yet. They're not really ready to make the dedication, the commitment, like you probably already were, being a little bit older and more mature.
And yeah, that's the difference between being a fully committed bodybuilder and somebody that's just kind of getting into the gym just for general health and or just to kind of get in decent shape is something very, very different. Bodybuilding was it requires a specific structure. It requires a specific type of thinking. The process doesn't stop. And that was something that I was pretty good at. But starting late, I think it was definitely what's allowed me to compete at a later age. And I can still get up there and do my thing. And but no, I always ask myself, because mentally I grew up fast at an early age. I had to do a lot very, very early. That was the difference between the 80s and the 70s from now. You had to get out there and get it done if you wanted it to happen. But I always ask myself, what would have happened if I would have started at 18 and 19? I quite honestly, I probably, it might sound a little too much, but I believe I would be Mr. Olympia if I did, because that's a very important time. It's not that mentally I wasn't ready. It's an important time physically. When you're 18, 19, 20 years old, that's a time that is very rare. And once it goes, it goes. Yeah. It's just nothing like it. And to be able to capitalize at that age is amazing. So when I get these guys that come into the gym around that age frame, man, I get in their ear fast, man. Just to be able to hopefully make some adjustments to provide longevity for them so they can eventually go ahead and become great. But no, I mean, I started late, man. I started late, and this is the part that I'm kind of proud of, in the sense of when people ask me, like, how long you been doing this and how old are you and so on, and you explain to them, wow, and then they just can't believe it. Because most people within their 40s already, I'm not in too good of a shape.
Yeah, they're way past their prime.
So
way
common.
Past. Yeah.
It's so common when you see it nowadays, and I believe 4 out of 5 people are on medication somehow. Yeah. And again, man, my goal is just to try to make this world better, because in all reality, it makes me feel amazing to be able to do that. Yeah. Be able to give back. I've been fortunate, man. I've had a lot of good people in my corner. Yeah. I've always been a magnet and been able to identify with a lot of greats, because when you sit down and you talk to a lot of greats, you find out there's a lot of bits and pieces, man, that are painful. You go through some shit, and eventually that's what allows you to really understand what is valuable in your life. What is it you really need? And half of what I did in my life, I didn't need. I didn't need it. So bodybuilding, I need it. Bodybuilding saved my life.
Right. I didn't mention to people, but you're 46. You'll be 47 in October. So
I'm 46 today. I'll be 47 in October. Yeah. And I'm right there with some of these guys, man. I'm right there. Yeah, I'm right there. But we're still kicking. We're still moving.
Everyone talks about Dexter, but there's some guys like you too that are out there. You're not that
Dexter,
far behind.
I think is the king of the hill right now.
He's the king of the hill, obviously.
I think he's around 50 or something.
He'll be 50 in November. Yeah.
He'll be 50 in November, right? Yeah. But God bless him, man. He's my idol right now. I honestly.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of the guys past 40, they look up to Dexter, and as makes it seem possible that you don't have to your body doesn't have to go on a downhill slide after 40. You can be in your best shape ever. So, thank you, Dexter. But get back to you. You turned pro in 2011 after winning. You won a couple of the local shows in New York. Overall, the Easterns. You won the Atlantics. When you turned pro, the 212. It was still 202 at the time, right? That division.
When I turned pro, what?
When you turned pro, I think it had just turned the lightweight division. It used to be called 202, but I believe it had just switched over to 212. When I turned pro,
that's when it went from 202 to 212. I think 212 was probably already on and popping for about a year after I turned pro. Yeah. And so I'm kind of grandfathered into the whole 212 division in terms of starting and really making that division a hot division. And I'll be honest with you, man, I was so proud of everything that I was able to accomplish in this sport. Sure, for some, for bodybuilding fans and they look at the statistics, it may not be as grand as a lot of these other champions. But when you put the lifestyle and the process and everything that happened in between with the end result of what I've done a lot. I've done a lot. I did more than what I expected to do in bodybuilding, and I'm indebted to the sport, man.
And you've done some acting, correct? I saw you in was it a Starburst commercial a couple years ago that you were really featured prominently in?
I can act a little bit, man.
Yeah. What other stuff have you done? I just saw that commercial.
I guess that just comes from the streets of New York and teach you so much. Yeah. But it was, I believe, I can't remember, I think 2012, 2013, somewhere around there. Yeah. My bro John De La Rosa, he texted me that morning, man. He was like, yo, what you doing? I'm going to go down for a casting down in Manhattan to see, I believe it was Adam Silver. He does a lot with the IFBB and the MPC, and amazing guy. And he was casting John for the shoot, and I just so happened to be there. So he was like, you want to cast for this? I said, let's go for it. I was 3 weeks out from the Arnold Classics when I went to go see him. So clearly I was a lot smaller than the rest of the guys because the commercial, they were asking for really big, bulky guys. Yeah. And I cast it for the video. I cast it for the commercial. And I lucked out because Cameron probably put on maybe about 10, 20 pounds on me. Yeah. So it gave me that three-dimensional look, but it just so happens because I was in such great shape 3 weeks out from the Arnolds that's what caught the eyes of the producers and the directors over there for the commercial, and I got a call back the next day, not expecting it, and I had to, as a matter of fact, check this out. The last time I used Skype, was with the director.
Oh, wow.
For that commercial.
So no wonder it took you a while to find your password again.
And from one day to the next, man, I got all this information, I got all these instructions, and I was on a plane heading to Vancouver, Canada. Wow. And as soon as I got there, they fitted me out like 3 different outfits. It was cold as shit too. I remember freezing my buns off over there. Me, Brandon Curry.
Yep.
Meet Sapir. There was a few other bodybuilders there, but it's hard for me to remember. Those are the 2 initial guys that we just bonded, hung out, and had a blast. We had to shoot these scenes around 50 times every single one, and they just choose one. But the experience of it was amazing, and clearly, financially, it was definitely something that was very rewarding and very necessary at that time. So it just really worked out for the best. So if you ever get called in for a commercial, I don't care what it is, you go ahead and do it, man.
I think, were you the only one with a speaking part? I remember you had a line or two in that commercial.
What was that?
I think you were the only one that spoke in that commercial.
Yeah, I had a little bit of me and Brandon Curry.
Oh, he did.
We had talking lines. Yeah, it was dope, man. I'm glad I was able to share that with Brandon. Yeah. So to remember Brandon from that Brandon to the one that we're about to see this year coming up on the Olympia. Oh man, I'm excited for him. I'm happy for him. Beautiful family. I just love everything about how is it they live their life, man. And those are goals. Everything that's positive. I understand the difficulty and the sacrifices that they're making right now. Him being away in Kuwait and the family being over here, dude, man. Not everybody can do that. And to be able to have a family and a wife and that holds that all together the way they do, hats off, man. That's what it's all about. And that's what I strive for. You have to be able to everybody wants to do that. Not understanding even if you had the opportunity, you couldn't do that. You have to have a certain type of system for that to be able to happen. At least the right way, and they're doing it, man, and it's exciting to watch, to see the sacrifice, not to be able to see your kids for weeks and months on end is something really huge. And knowing that he's a very close person to his kids, it's admirable. It's admirable. And it's even more admirable because I believe he's going to come in here and crush it this year. I'd be honest with you. He's my go-to guy. I got Brandon with.
I don't think Vegas is going to take too many bets against Brandon Curry, put it that way.
Yeah.
But well, let me ask you this, since you brought it up. You have 2 young daughters. If you got a call from Kuwait right now, they say, Marco, we want you to come over for 6 months. All expenses paid. You're going to get, well, you'll probably put on 10 pounds of muscle at least. Your placings, would you struggle with it? What would you do? Would you go? Would you stay? What would your answer?
You would have gave me that call before my accident, I would say, let's go.
Okay.
But understanding the sport, understanding the opportunity, I would probably see if I can have somebody, or if I can replace myself with somebody who has the potential, who has the ability to allow that system to manifest itself while being out there. Not go over there and waste anybody's time, but get out there and do the deed. But I would give that opportunity, to somebody that's. If I had the opportunity to give it to somebody else, I really would. I really would, because I'm 47. I'm not going to be Mr. Olympia. It's just it's a reality. I pushed what I was going to push, and I'm not 100%, and that's why I wouldn't even attempt to waste anybody's time like that. That would be a dream if you're healthy.
Yeah.
But you gotta go up there. You gotta go up there 100%, man, because those boys, they're gonna do some work, And I understand the sport well enough to know that I'm not 100% to be able to take down that type of task.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened to you. So the last, prior to this spring New York Pro, you were gone from the stage for 2 years, basically, right? Yeah. 2017 you did the New York Pro. Yeah, it was 2017, and then. What happened toward the end of the year? You tore a quad toward the end of 2017?
In 2017, my last show was the New York Pro, which I thought I had an amazing showing in 2017.
Right.
I thought that was my very best to date coming in. Unfortunately, I got second call out on that show and kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth. We're athletes, man. You don't get to win, man. We're all bent out of shape.
Yeah, nobody trains for 7th
But I was
place.
quick to get over it. I was quick to understand what I needed to do. It's been the story of my life, and I had to also remember the fact that why I'm in the sport. We're not going to win them. We're not going to win them all. We're not going to lose them all. But when you get very extensive in the sport, you have to be able to know how to kind of pull back a little bit and remember, I do this sport because I love it, not because I'm trying to get a $3,000 check. For winning the whole entire damn thing. You know what I mean? So it's not a financial aspect. It's the fact that I loved it that much. And 2017 was one of my best showings. So if every year I told myself, we're going to continue to compete as long as you're getting better. And till 2017, my body was still developing. I was still growing. Unfortunately, after that, when I started prepping for the 2018 New York Pro, which I was coming in guns blazing in my mind.
Yeah.
I started going really hard in the gym all over again, already by November, December, prepping myself going into May. And we started off by getting a slight tear in my quad via some pretty gnarly heavy squats, which I used to do every single week. And that was the first setback.
Hold on, Marco. How much weight? Everybody wants to know.
It was 495. It was 5 plates on each side.
That's a lot of weight.
But if you guys know me, and for those that watch know that wasn't something that was difficult for me. Right. I've always had really good form and always been very powerful from my lower half. And it was a regular day in the gym. I'm repping out. I pyramided up, warmed up, had knee wraps, had my belt on, had tight shoes. Had a spotter in the back. Everything was just A-okay. You start going through the reps, and by rep numbers, the week prior, I did 15 reps. I can send you that video also.
Wow.
And so I told myself we're going to try to meet that same number today because I love training high volume.
Yeah.
And when I got to rep 7, I don't know, it was just a weird type of pinch. But I was so into the movement. It wasn't something that was debilitating or something that I felt that I should have stopped. It was nothing of the sort. But it was something that just kind of let me know, well, what the hell was that? And when I went down for number 8, that's when I didn't come back up. And when I send you that video as well, you'll realize that for any of you guys that have that situation while you're squatting, man, the worst thing you can do is try to save your squat. Don't save it. Yeah. Don't try to balance it out. When you got that type of weight on, your body's not ready for that. You have to understand how to get rid of weight off of you, back behind you, in front of you. And one of the best tactics to doing that while squatting is just basically try to tuck your head into your knees. Roll it out. Just tuck your head into your knees so it can roll off you and go forward, not behind you. Because if you got a spotter, he's going to have some big problems too. You know, so yeah, man, we had a bit slight tear in my quad, which eventually healed up, mended together. I didn't get surgery. In about 2 months after that, I started training legs again, and everything started coming back. And unfortunately, one day we went to Costco's and picked up food for my prep, and decided to make some steaks at home, which I tend to do a lot. I'm a cooker, man. You don't find me someplace outside, I'll be honest with you. You'll find me in Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm that kind of guy.
Okay.
You know, utensils and cookware, like that's what I do, man. Awesome. So I picked up some steaks at Costco's and started broiling steaks at home. And unfortunately, I left a can of Pam a little off of the side of the stove. Harmless stuff I've done for years. And after about 15 minutes of cooking, I realized that there was a bit of I don't know, it was just like a weird sound. I didn't know where it was coming from. So I checked when I opened up the oven door to look at the steaks, which were broiling, and that means that there's open flame on the top of the oven. Yeah. That's when the can of Pam decided to burst. Whoa. It just burst. It looked like a jumping jack. Woo! Wow. And the oil was so hot and so misty. The mist came out so fast and so sharp that it was literally a nanosecond before the flames hit it from having the oven door open. Yeah. That it turned into it felt like I hit with a blowtorch. Wow. Arm on the top of my head. And the heat was so bad that my reaction was just to jump away. Right. And when I did that, I flew over the island in my kitchen and landed sideways into my shoulders, tearing my rotator. And that was a hot mess. Damn. It was a hot mess. So you go from everything being completely perfect 1 second to everything being wrong in another. And you know, just on a different note, my kids weren't there. If they would have been anywhere near the kitchen, it would have been bad. Yeah. Because hair, both my daughters have extreme amounts of hair, and that lights up like a match. Yeah, wow. The whole kitchen was literally a ball of fire. So for those of you that use a lot of Pam, which I know is millions of views, you know. Yeah, it's easy. Take time out while prepping and cooking, you know. I know you're busy. I know you're making chicken, beef, and egg whites all at the same time. Meal prep. You got white rice and sweet potatoes in the oven. Yeah. We're trying to get these things done. It's what we do. And it's so simple to just lose sight of your concentration, what you're doing in cooking, that allows you to make mistakes like I made that day. And I haven't competed as well as I wanted to because of that. So yeah, as simple as it may be, is the reasons why I'm not fully active in bodybuilding today.
I got to say, your skin healed up very well, because you know, you told me a shorter version of the story back in May, and I'm looking at you, and I could see there's a little bit of scarring, but it's nothing like Freddy Krueger or anything like that. I mean, it looks like you healed up pretty well, the skin.
Well, that's where I give credit to my wife. My wife she was my nurse. Cleaning it, bandage, you know, how well you treat it and take care of it is as well as is going to mend itself. But quite honestly, I have a bit of a different theory about that, and that's the sense of who we are. We're bodybuilders. So what do we teach our bodies? We destroy our bodies every day in the gym. We break everything down, and we focus on healing, on repairing, getting more muscle growth. And I truly believe the fact that my body understood trauma to a certain degree, everything went right to work in terms of reparation. Not to mention, some of the substances that I've used to make sure that heals itself a lot faster. In this case, Anavar, that's what it's designed for.
Right. Yeah, it's for burn victims.
So these are all the bits and pieces that I've incorporated, which the doctor couldn't even understand. Like, how are you so much better so fast? And I said, Doc, I try to get it from you, but you didn't want to give it to me, and I'm explaining to you how these things work. And yeah, so I took care of myself, and I think we did a pretty good job of it. Thank God, man.
So at that point, you had shoulder surgery not long after that. You'd been burnt. Did you think you were retired? Did you think that's it? I'm all done competing after all this?
Yeah, after the burn, and I didn't think. I was waiting after the surgery. The surgery is what I was waiting for to determine whether I can press or not. And for a couple of months after the surgery, it just did not feel like it. I was trying to do lat spreads and all these movements, and I was having a lot of difficulty. And I started to accept the fact that I think this is it. And quite frankly, that was the main reasons why I went into a ball of depression. I would be in my house for weeks on end, sitting in the sofa, not talk to my family. I wasn't training. It was almost like I did the complete opposite in thinking, in the way I moved. I started thinking a lot of negative stuff, and my body went into a spiral. And, my wife is very passive, man. I can be on top of the world, she's with it. I can be at the bottom of the pits, she's with it. It doesn't change anything about her in terms of, her love for me and her commitment. It doesn't make a difference. So it was easy to just kind of fall back. And the depression really started to grab a hold of me. Me not understanding what the hell was happening. As a bodybuilder, you try to control everything. You think, I got this. We have that I got this mentality. I'm gonna fix it because it's what I do. I've just got to make it happen. Right. No, I'm a human being, man. I'm a human being, and mental health, that's something that I got a little taste of. Being unhealthy mentally. I got a little glimpse of it, and even that little glimpse was devastating, because your body follows, and you start breaking down. Every bit of pain that I ever thought was gone came back. The muscles start to disappear very, very quickly, and I was doing that with my mind. I was breaking myself down, and it took a lot of rethinking. I had to redesign my thinking, and I had to go back to the basics in terms of what I processed, what I saw on TV, what kind of music I would listen to. I had to start from scratch again, pulling out my secret songs that really get me fired up, start watching the videos again, watching all of you guys on social media and these websites doing their thing, and listening to all the motivational stories, and unfortunately looking at people who are in worse predicaments than I was, to be able to say, you know what, no, it can't be like this. I refuse it to be like this. And I had to act as if for a couple of months and pretend that I was trying to get it together. And before you know it, my thinking was back, my emotions were back, the support was back. And once my wife saw that things were falling in place again, that's when she really pushed more on the champion side of it, and was, let's get it fucking done. You can do it. You have to do it. When you got your wife saying you have to do this, man, it was very emotional. And being able to get back up to the New York Pro was definitely probably my most important show out of all the shows that I did. Wow. It was probably the most important one in terms of what it did for me, and also what it did for others. Because a lot of people thought I was done too. Right. And to be able to see it, to be able to manifest that all over again, it lets me know that we're going to be in a good place, man, no matter what happens.
Right.
You know, very grateful for that. The support from everybody was overwhelming. I had no idea. And that was the piece that was just so, I cried that whole entire night. You have no idea. I had to walk around with a box of tissues, man. Everybody that I just saw, I don't know, it was just very emotional. Because there was a lot of people that rode that with me, and they were able to improve their lives via my process, you know, and you don't realize how many people look to you for answers and motivation and so on. And, you know, we was able to help a lot of individuals, man. And it was, this little average Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx wasn't supposed to know what that is.
Yeah.
He did. And we still work on manifesting that every opportunity that we get our hands on, and that's what I look to teach to my kids, man. How to always make it.
So you know, I know part of your support team is Betancourt Nutrition. How long have you been part of that company? What do you like about the company and the people that run the company?
Well, Betancourt Nutrition is a family. It's a family. You know, it's you got a lot of people, and this is a good topic because you got thousands of companies. You got so many companies out there, and not a lot of them last long. Some come in with all this guns blazing, and then they disappear in a year or two. And Betancourt Nutrition has been here for years, and it's going to remain here for a lot of years, and it's because of their system. You know, right now there's a little bit of changing in the offices above. There's a little bit of changing going on, but the bottom foundation of it is the same people, it's the same structure. The supplements, I've done so many walkthroughs through their fabrication, and this company is legit. Yeah. I say it because I've seen it and I've tried it. Betancourt Nutrition has had my back also, because after the accidents, you think, all right, I can't perform as an athlete. Here goes my sponsorships. Right. You know, and you expect that. I expect that, and I'm not going to be mad. I'm just shit, man. How long this is more going to last, we'll see. Yeah. But no, man, they held me down. Yeah. Supplements still continue to come. Everything else from the contract still came about. They didn't ask me they weren't trying to push me to do things that was not Marco Rivera, just to be able to maintain me. It was nothing of the sort. All they did was Marco, what do you need? Wow. And that was another bit of the fire of me being able to come back. That was a big support system that allowed me to be able to come back to the New York Pro. And, you know, they were supportive, and they were equally as happy for me as everybody else. And for the company, that was a great thing, you know, unfolding that whole process via, you know, I really did not expect them to stick around, and they did. And for that, I thank them from the bottom of my heart, you know, because we're living in a very selfish world. We're living in I get it, it's business. And when they could have easily told me, yo, Marco, that's it, man, we can't use you anymore. And I would have been completely grateful with that, and I would have bowed out gracefully. But they didn't do that, man. They believed in me, and we was able to get up there one more time. And I think we're going to surprise them again.
Shout out to Jose Gonzalez, my main man over at Betancourt. That's Jose Gonzalez, the main man.
Yes.
Yeah. Good guy. So
phenom. You talking about the kid that's always with me, right? The guy that's always with me?
No, the other Jose from Betancourt.
No, okay, because they both named Jose, that's why.
It's a fairly common name, but
no, Jose, man, Jose's an ace, bro.
So, Marco, where do you go from here? What's next?
Well, as of now, I've been working on just passing the torch, trying to really integrate the lifestyle of bodybuilding. So when I get clients and I get people that come to me in terms of training, it's a process. It's not just getting a training session. It's not just getting a diet. I have to know you. I have to know about you. I have to understand that you want it more than I do. I try to really implement the fundamentals of what this sport, how the sport started, and what is it that allows you to become a freak of nature. And it's not average things in regular days. You have to be able to know how to go above and beyond. And and at the same time, man, save lives. Honestly, real talk, save lives. Because if you're in the gym, you're not in the streets running around bugging out. And I say it in that fashion. I'm sure there's probably people that don't have to deal with that, but growing up in the Bronx, you know about gang members. You seen it and do it, and you do it all. And every single day, there's always some teenager kind of doesn't have a place to go, doesn't have an environment that we have all over the place now. Gyms in the 80s, gym where? Jack LaLanne's? Gyms, as far as I knew, were in grocery store basements.
Wow. Or
the Weeder sandwich in your boy's bedroom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Push-ups, pull-ups, that was it. There was no gyms. So to have environments like that and being able to get some of the younger crowd, because where I'm at, we get some young guys coming in there, football teams and things like that. And the very first thing I do is sit down and talk to these guys and helping them understand what their potential is to achieve their dreams and what it's going to take. Because if they understand what to expect, they'll stay on course. Yeah. They just can't do it blindly. All right, trust me, man, you're going to get there. No, I explain the process so like that they can visually and emotionally see where they're going, to be able to get emotionally involved in what is it they're doing, eventually creating longevity and getting them to where they want to be. And I'm devoted to that because I didn't have that. Yeah. Wish I did. I think I would have been a lot more successful having that in the beginning, and that's where it counts, is in the beginning. Yeah. That's where you structure this young family to become either the average, quote unquote, or to become someone amazing. And everybody that I'm surrounded by, I always let them know how amazing they are and what their capabilities consist of every single time, whether they want to hear it or not. But it works. Yeah. And before you know it, I have people who have come to me completely broken in every sense, and changed their whole entire lives around via the lifestyle of fitness. And for me, it's like I said, it's not just the gym. It's not just getting in shape. This will redirect your whole entire life if you do it correctly.
Wow. So what about you personally, Marco? Are you done competing, or do you feel like you still have more to give?
Well, I've had a lot of people that want to see me do it again. Yeah. I thought I came in really great shape for the New York Pro now in 2019. Clearly not having the size dimension that I needed to be competitive with that first call out. So I get it. But in terms of conditioning was everything just came into play very, very quick. And you can have imperfections, but being conditioned, you'd be surprised how many people you can still rattle out. Yeah. Now, what that told me was, what would happen if I gave myself a really great off season? Because I didn't do that prior to getting ready for that show. I literally went from my state into full preparation, just got ready for the New York Pro. I didn't gain weight, no, nothing. I just maintained and then eventually just kind of dried out for the show. So if I could have myself a proper off season, I can probably sit here and tell you now that 2020 New York Pro, I'm going to come and bite that ass one more time. Okay. All right. I'm healthy. And again, this is another thing that I think we should tap on. Health, man. Health. Yeah. This sport is nothing if you're not healthy. You have to always, again, it's being able to teach how to do and live this lifestyle the proper way. Yeah. And that's one thing I'm committed to, and showing these young guys, because it's scary sometimes what you hear from what people are doing and how they're doing it and why they're doing it and how little they know about what they're doing. Right. But expect a certain type of result. And this is when I go back to the penitentiary talk, because there's a lot of mass monsters in there.
Oh, I bet.
They don't have half of the environment that we have out here. But they manage, because why? They're able to manifest something greater. and that's the power of the mind, and clearly the consistency, which is unfortunate for them.
Right.
Eat, sleep, train. So I really try to integrate the foundation of it. I don't care who you are, what you want to do. If you don't have a foundation, we have to create one. If you don't want to create one, then I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. We have to create a foundation, because if you do, you're going to thank me.
Right. All right, so I want to let people know where they can get in touch with you, and it is Instagram, Marco Rivera 12. No spaces.
Marco Rivera 12.
Marco Rivera 12. 3-time 212 Olympian, 2-time Arnold Classic, Betancourt athlete, personal trainer, LWP athlete. So check him out. Marco Rivera 12 on Instagram, everybody.
Yeah.
You should have more followers than this. Come on.
Absolutely. Everybody's welcome.
All right, man. Well, Marco, good. I know a lot more about you now. More inspirational. You've got more inspirational stories than I thought you had, even, and I knew a little bit already. So I'm glad you're gonna give it one more go. New York Pro.
I'm committed, man. I'm committed. Even if you have some people that you think I might be able to help out in any sense of the word, by all means, give me a buzz, man. I'm all about bringing up the future. And passing the torch on, and it's valuable information, man. It's key, and honestly, it makes men into men. Is creating that value and understanding who you want to be and how is it you need, what is it you need to get there. And it doesn't take a degree, it doesn't take money. What it takes is the right mindset and a whole lot of fucking heart. So for all of yous out there, if that's what you got, man, and you're willing to start this the right way, come see me. Marco Rivera 12. Hit me up.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Marco. It's been cool talking to you. And I wish you the very best of luck with this off season. Make some good gains. Come back to that New York Pro.
I will.
Bigger, just as ripped, and we're going to get a much better result next time.
You just gave me goosebumps, brother. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Right, one love, Ron. Thank you so much. Brown's back, boy. We out.
Everybody, thanks for watching Ronline Report with Marco Rivera. We'll see you next time.
God bless, guys.